Let's see what we can do with the mighty Warforged, shall we? Hello everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire, bringing you another episode of Changing Fantasy Cultures, today taking a look at the Warforged. And no, I did not post a poll about this one, or at least I hadn't this week. You see, the one I'd posted where the ogres had initially come out ahead and won, and thus why I did the Changing Up Ogres video last week, that poll kept going and kept accruing votes, and now Warforged have a commanding lead, and rather than just spam out another poll, I figured I'd go ahead and just run with the results of that one, and now here we are. But before we get into the exact details that I have in mind on things that you can do to change up the Warforged, if you're new here to the channel, then go on down to hit that subscribe button and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or, if you've already listed yourself on such a legendary roster of incredible explorers and dashingly awesome adventurers, then go on down to hit that like button and share the video far and wide to help us grow ever further. But now, let's go ahead and talk about Warforged. So, Warforged first appeared in Eberron. Actually, I have that book right here. And for Eberron, they were built as tools of war. They were meant to be supplemental armies, battalions, to help wage war across the many different battlefronts. But after the war had concluded, there were these masses upon masses of Warforged that not a lot of people really knew exactly what to do with. And the Warforged didn't really quite know what to do with themselves, and so they struck out seeking to try to find their own identity. Some just kept going as warriors, others found other ways of incorporating themselves into everyday life and became a regular fixture of the setting. But the one thing that is distinct and continuous for them is that sense of trying to find themselves, as well as that overall lack of identity and trying to find and discover that identity for themselves. Otherwise, they are machine-like, they are considered living constructs, so they don't benefit as well from Cure Light Wound spells, but they do benefit from repair spells, and Cure Light Wounds, or any sort of cure spells, can still help to heal their damage. It's just not as effective. But given that they are constructs, so the amount of rest they need is minimal, and there are a lot of things that they can do things to upgrade themselves, enhance their form, their figures, their functions, so many things, and they are not limited to what kind of roles they can take up. They can be fighters, rogues, barbarians, paladins, clerics, wizards, druids, on and on and on and on throughout the various multitude of classes that are available. So this presents us with an interesting opportunity here. You might look at that lack of identity that they have for themselves, or that lack of unified identity, and say, well, how exactly are we going to do that? How exactly are we going to pull together a group of people who lack a unified cultural identity, at best, or at worst, lack that massive cohesive cultural identity, and also have a bunch of their own distinct personalities, values, lifestyles, and things that help to make them that much more distinct from one another? Not only are they not cohesive, but there are these separate, scattered groups that have kind of started to gel together and really built their own identities, their own language, their own customs, their own rituals. What possible real-world example could we have for bringing this all together? Ladies and gentlemen, and all points in between those and betwixt and outside of wherever you may land on that particular matter, I present to you today the Mughal Empire. Now, the Mughal Empire is in the Indian subcontinent, and it was founded around 1525, 1526, and was dissolved about in the 1860s, I want to say, 1865, 1868, somewhere in there. So over 300 years old, and it was unified a large portion of the Indian subcontinent, and it was a group of several disparate peoples with their own distinct languages and cultures and customs and religious practices. And this empire was definitely the biggest point that brought them all together and gave them a larger cohesive identity that was able to tie them together. And not only that, but the leaders and administration for the Mughal Empire were capable of maintaining this for over 300 years and formed one of the richest, most powerful, and technologically advanced kingdoms, empires, however you want to slice it, at that time period, to the point that they made their European counterparts look back asswards. And the Mughal Empire is the empire you typically think of when you think of all the exotic spices and trade, all of those riches flowing into and out of India. Although in this case is definitely more into, because a lot of the European traders, they were desperate for those goods, so money regularly flowed in. And the problem was, though, is that the Mughal Empire, there wasn't much that they really wanted that they weren't already getting, so everything the Europeans brought in, it had damn well better be special, unique, or in sufficient quantities to be worth somebody's time, because there just wasn't anything that was going to be happening there otherwise. So we have an effective administrative system that's put in place for the Mughal Empire that is able to govern these different districts, different peoples, and keep them from killing each other. Or if they do start tearing at one another, they're able to step in effectively and put a stop to all of these things. Not only that, but the rich and colorful culture of the Mughal Empire had a distinctive impact on the European traders that came in through the area. Hell, had a distinctive impact on the entire region that has stuck around for a significant amount of time. I mean, this is the empire that built the Taj Mahal. And so that gives you an idea of the long-lasting impact that the Mughal Empire had on not only India, but also the surrounding area. This is the empire that ended up enchanting the British and several other European nations, where this great cultural exchange took place and really began to rub off on other people. And the food, my goodness, the food is absolutely amazing. So there are so many things that we can use here, and by putting the Warforged here, you can create a nation where there's this larger governing body of Warforged that have managed to pull together these different disparate groups that have tried to subsume themselves and immerse themselves into different mortal experiences in order to try to discover what their own identity is. And since you have all these disparate groups, these people are able to negotiate together effectively to maintain, and not only maintain, but also enhance and grow the power and wealth of their nation. And the technological developments that they go through, the cultural aesthetics, everything that gets pulled together here, you can apply to Warforged and make them incredibly colorful, unique, distinct, while still letting yourself go wild with the different personalities that could possibly be created or generated from such a melting pot of different cultures and languages. Absolutely, there's an incredible opportunity here, or at least I seem to think so. But what do you think? Go on down to the comments below and let me know your thoughts. Did you like today's video? Did you dislike it? Hit the like or dislike buttons and go on down to the comments below and let me know, so that way we can engage in discussion. And if you did enjoy today's video and you want to keep seeing more, then go on down there to hit that subscribe button and become a regular member here at the Gamers Den. And for those of you who are already listed here upon such an incredible roster of different alumni, friends, and students, then go ahead and share that video far and wide to help us grow ever further. But with all that said, I've been Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.